Sandra Day O'Connor, former Supreme Court justice, said that, you know what? Maybe the Supreme Court never should have even taken up Bush v. Gore in 2000, which eventually led to George W. Bush becoming president of the U.S. Can you imagine this? This is, first, let me tell you exactly what she said. She said, maybe the court should have said, we're not going to take it. Goodbye. It turned out the election authorities in Florida hadn't done a real good job and kind of messed it up. And probably the Supreme Court added to the problem at the end of the day. Think about that for a second, ladies and gentlemen. Sandra Day O'Connor, who was on the court when Bush v. Gore was decided, basically admits that the biggest decision rendered while she was on the court, provided and she provided a vote towards, got it wrong and swung a presidential election. You know, perhaps it would have been a different situation if George W. Bush had won the popular vote and had actually clearly won in Florida, and there was a sense that the Supreme Court was really just kind of ending a recount that was not going to change anything. That was not the case. And we have an admission from a former Supreme Court justice that maybe the Supreme Court never should have even gotten involved. Unbelievable. Do you understand those comments? Do you understand how different history may have been had the Supreme Court not ever taken that up?
But were these her thoughts at the time? I doubt it.
Well, that's the question, right, Natan? Why did she now come to this decision? Did she always think this, but it would have been a disaster if she had said it? Or has she learned something new? Has she had an epiphany?
Maybe she changed her mind. Maybe she's worried about her legacy in the history books. I was just going to point out that if the recount that was going on when the Supreme Court stopped it had continued, it's very likely that Gore would have lost because it was only recounting parts of the state, and also because a lot of the votes that had been thrown out wouldn't have been able to be recounted. However, studies have shown that if everyone had had their intent counted, Gore probably would have won. But I just want to point out that the recount probably wasn't going to end up in Gore's favor anyway.
It's not total. But so you're saying that if we looked at those errant ballots where the lines were drawn all over, like that butterfly ballot, if the intent of those had properly been counted, Gore would have won.
Yeah, because in a lot of those cases, like the butterfly ballot, people just voted for someone else, so there's no way to recount it to count the original intent. Do you see what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something, Lois?
No, not really.
You're bewildered.
I wouldn't say bewildered, but it's certainly a strange time to come out and say this.
It is.